Hi guys, it's Paula and I hope you are doing well. This is going to be part 2 of my 2020 makeup inventory. In this video we will be covering bronzer, highlighter, blush, and my face palettes. I love all of these categories. Bronzer, blush, and highlighter make me so happy, and when you put them all together in a palette, I get really excited. So that's what this video is going to be all about. In general, none of these products go quickly. It takes a long time for me to finish any one of these categories, let alone a palette. So there's not going to be a ton of movement, but in this video, I will talk about what, if anything, I have finished, what I have bought, what I'm currently panning, and what I would pan next once I finish what I'm currently working on. That's it. Let's cut to the clips of my inventory. Okay guys, we have really nice sunlight coming in the windows, so I am filming with sunlight, with natural light. It's beautiful. I'm also holding my phone instead of sitting it up on the tripod, so I hope I'm not making you guys queasy. Here are my cream bronzers. I had 7 last year and I am down to 6, so I finished 1. No new ones came in. I didn't buy any and I did just finish the 1, so we are down by 1. After finishing that 1, I've been working on these 2 right here. This is a cream kind of bronzy illuminator from Bonnie Bell, and I'm basically down to about here. Oops, I'm right to about there. So hopefully this won't be around for much longer. I'm also working on this concealer quad in the shade Dark. It's falling apart and breaking. And this is what it looks like here. As of right now, I'm feeling really confident that I can get through both of these this year. We will see. If I do manage to finish both of these, I will probably start working on this one from Laura Geller because it is drying up. And I'm afraid it might be too dry for me to use it when the time comes, but I will definitely see what's going on with this one once these 2 are done. Did I mention that I have projects for both of these to go into for next year? I will definitely be rolling these over into projects for 2020. This one was in my graveyard project pan, and when that project ended on October 31st, I just kept using it even though it's not been in a project, and this one has been in a few different projects this year, but it will also be rolling into another project for next year. Okay, here are my depotted bronzers. I had 7 last year and I am down to 6 this year. I finished 1. I am so happy to be down 1 depotted bronzer. I still have these 6 to go through and many, many more bronzers that are either singles or in palettes, but it feels great to have finished 1 in 2019. I don't have any plans for any of these to be in projects currently. This one was in my Pan That palette for 2019. I've raved about this for a long time because I absolutely love this bronzer. It gives a sort of reddish flush to my skin that looks like I've just come in from the sun, and I love it. I would love to work on this one. It already has quite a bit of usage, and it looks like a fairly light toned bronzer that I think I could kind of apply heavily and get through. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like it would be easier to pan than some of the other ones. I don't know if I'll be working on either of those this year, but those 2 would probably be my number 1 and number 2 to work on for this year. As of this moment that I'm filming, I have not decided what bronzer I'm going to be working on, or what powder bronzer I should say. I know what cream bronzer I'm going to be working on, but I'm not sure what powder bronzer I'm going to be working on. That's why I'm filming this right now, so I can make a decision. But yeah, I'm down by 1. Okay, here are my single bronzers. Just my single, yeah, I think that explains it. Here are my single bronzers. I had 27 last year. I have 27 this year. I did not touch any of these in 2019. Actually, that's not true. I did touch one of them. I had this one in my 2020 Vision Project pan. This is a deluxe sample of the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer. But I did not manage to hit pan. I did get some good use out of it. The rest of these were sadly ignored in my stash. The good news is I didn't buy any new ones either, so this number hasn't gone up. For 2020, I've already put this Bare Minerals Bare Pro into a project, specifically into my advent calendar project pan that I'm doing with Elaine. This is actually a foundation sample, but it's in the shade Toffee, so it became a bronzer. So this is already in a project for this year, but it's in my advent calendar, so I need something to work on right now in the meantime. And I'm thinking about making it this guy. I've been wanting to play around with this butter bronzer since I bought it, and I've never really used it. Maybe I've used it once. That's ridiculous. I think it's time I enjoyed my butter bronzer a little bit. This is just the shade Bronzer. This is from the first release when they only had 2 shades. They had bronzer and I think they had light bronzer, so I got the bronzer shade. And I would really like to play with this, so I'm thinking about putting this in a project for 2020. I don't think I can pan that entire bronzer this year, but I'd like to get as much use out of it as I can and maybe at least hit pan. It's difficult though. I kind of think, well, maybe I should just put this in a project and finish it off. I don't know. We'll see. I have until tomorrow to decide. Here is my small collection of loose bronzers. There were 3 last year and there are 3 this year. I have not touched these at all. These are Mary Kay little baked balls or whatever you call them. And both of these are Bare Minerals Warmth. Although I'd love to work on either one of these, but particularly this one to move it out. This gigantic tub of baked balls scares the crap out of me. I'm way too intimidated to try and pan that. But I would love to pan one of these. I think I'd really like it. And I think this has that same kind of reddish brown color that I really like in the bronzer I was panning in my palette last year. But yeah, no change here, still 3. Okay, I have one lonesome little bronzer palette, and I'm relieved to be able to say that. I don't need a bronzer palette, but I do have this one. This was the Too Faced little black book of bronzers. Oh, I got it right. And it comes with deluxe samples of all of their bronzers. I don't think I've ever used this even once. I had talked about in a video this year that this palette is definitely in consideration for depotting because I think there's just a lot of wasted space, and I think it's not realistic for me to pan this all at one time. I think it's more realistic for me to pull one out and work on it until it's gone and then pull another one out than to have this entire palette sitting in my bathroom for years. But yeah, I have one bronzer palette, nothing new, nothing used up. This will be here for a while. I will probably eventually depot this palette though. Okay, here are my stick highlighters. I had 9 last year and now I'm down to 8. Couldn't be happier about that. The one I finished was my Trustique Maldives Luminescent, I think is what it was called. So I'm down by 1. I have decided to put this Josie Maran one in a project for this year. I'd like to move this one out. I'd like to move all of them out, but especially this one first. Okay, here are all of my liquid illuminators. Last year I had 26 and today I have 25. I did finish 2. I completely panned 2 of these, but this one came in. It was gifted to me by a friend. She sent it over from Finland, Sweden, Norway. She sent it over from Europe, which was so sweet of her. So my numbers only went down by 1, but I'm still happy that they're down. For this year, I would like to put this one in a project right here. This is from the brand Japanesque. It's called a Liquid Light. Currently, I'm working on a liquid bronzer from Bonnie Bell. You saw it earlier in this video, and it's almost gone. And I'm thinking that once it is gone, I can use this one in the same way that I used that one, kind of like as a primer. I might also use it on top of my foundation as well as like a blush, but I'd like to use this up this year. So I'm gonna put this in a project. This is my one messy post in all of my inventory, and I love it. I can't stop laying them out like this for my photos. I don't know why. I like to see this in a big pile. Everything else is laid out as neatly as possible, but this is just my nice little mess. Okay, here are my cream highlighters. I had 19 last year and I have 19 this year. I did not work on these really at all this year for panning. I do currently have this one in my Roulette Pan collab, but I haven't been using it that consistently, unfortunately. It's the shade Opulence. It's the lightest of the 4 that I have from Stila. I have been using this pretty much every day since the experiment ended, but it's not like I'm anywhere near panning it. I've just been enjoying it. The project that this one is in will end on January 23rd. So I'm going to enjoy this until January 23rd, but I have decided to finally roll this lunch money back into a project and pan it. And I am really excited about the idea of finishing this off this year. I hope I can do it. I would love that. I have a backup of lunch money. I don't know which one, maybe this one. One of these is a backup of lunch money, so it would be great to only have one lunch money. Once lunch money is gone, and I'm not saying that's going to happen in 2020, but once this is gone, I would like to start working on MAC Pearl. Yeah, MAC Pearl. This is one of my oldest cream highlighting products, and I'd like to use it up and enjoy it before it goes bad. Here is my loose highlighter collection, and I'm kind of freaking out because I only had 10 last year. I did not buy any, and now I'm at 11. And it's one of these 3 that's new. I don't know. I don't know how this number went up, other than possibly maybe one of them was in my blush inventory, in my loose blush inventory last year, and I moved it to the highlighter category without even thinking about it. I don't know. I guess I will see when I do my blush inventory, and if my loose blush inventory went down by 1, the mystery will be explained. But I'm at 11 right now, and although when I look at these 3 products, they do all look like highlighters, so I think they do all belong in this category, but they weren't all in this category last year. This one here called Precious was in the experiment for 2019, which means I used it a handful of times, but there's no real progress to speak of. It's a lovely highlighter. The rest of these were not in projects at all, and as of right now, I don't have plans to put any of them in projects. Although that could change, I'm not sure. I don't think I've settled on a powder highlighter to work on for 2020. I should probably do that. These highlighting papers from my couture might end up in Project 10 uses soon. But right now we're at 11 loose highlighters. Okay, here are my single highlighters. Last year I made a big stink about hitting the 50 mark for the amount of single highlighters I have. And I declared that I was done buying highlighters, never again. This number cannot go any higher, 50 is enough. And then Berlin Girl came out from Becca and I caved. So for 2019, this is my one and only purchase as far as highlighters go. But it has now put me at the number of 51 because I panned a highlighter in 2019 and I didn't finish it. I panned a highlighter in 2018 and I didn't finish it. So for this year, for 2020, I would like to get back down to 50 because that is enough. I am beyond disgusted with the fact that I have 51 single highlighters. That's not all of my highlighters altogether, but as far as single highlighters, I have 51. So I have decided to put one of these into a project in the hopes of finishing it this year. Yes, finishing it. So of course, you guys know I'm going for one of these little guys. I've decided that I would like to pan this Laura Mercier one for 2020. There is 0.06 ounces in this product. At least that's what it claims to have. I'm assuming it has more, but that's what it claims, which isn't unmanageable. I think it's possible that I could finish this year. So maybe this will be the year that I actually finish a single highlighter. We'll see. Okay, here is my inventory for highlighting palettes. I had 10 last year, and as of today, I have 11. This is the new one to my stash. It is the Northern Lights holographic palette from the brand Makeup Mecca. This was gifted to me by a friend over on Instagram. And it's one of those colorful highlighting palettes. It came with one shadow broken, so I did repress that one broken shadow. None of these palettes were in projects last year, and as of today, I don't have plans to put any of these in a project. I would love to. I would love to pan one of these palettes and move them out. I am a little intimidated by them, but I would love to one day pan them. But for now, I'm just focused on moving out that little single highlighter that I talked about in the last clip. Okay, I have been putting off talking about this category since I started working on my inventory, but this video needs to go up today, so it's time to talk about it. These are my depotted blushes, and I spent all of last year working on that guy right there. That was in my Pan That palette from 2019. I was hoping it would not be part of this inventory this year, and so I waited until the last minute, but sadly, it's still here. I had 52 of these last year, and I have 52 of them this year. I have so much more blush than this to talk about today, but this alone would keep my cheeks rosy for years and years to come. I currently do not have any of these in a project pan, but I am still working on this one, and I will be working on it every day until it's gone. I have some other older, almost gone blushes that I'd like to focus on once that's gone and hopefully move them out. I am really hopeful that I will be down 3 blushes overall by this time next year. That would be amazing. Once those 3 are gone, what I can tell you is that I'm really craving something other than peachy pink, and I don't know what exactly I'm going to work on once those 3 blushes are gone, but it will either be a very neutral blush, like maybe this one up here, I think that's MAC Melba, or a super pinky blush like that, or like a dusty mauve blush, like maybe that one or Benefits Dallas, something like that. But I really would like to take a break from peachy pink. I've been panning one peachy pink blush or another for the past 3 years, and I'm ready for something else, and I'm feeling like neutral is the way to go. So I'm still at 52 for my depotted blushes. Okay, here are all of my cream blushes. I had 48 last year, and I have 48 again this year. I did not use any up, but thank goodness I did not buy any more either. This is a category that must not go up, and I must just commit myself to working on these until the number gets down. I am not naive enough to think that all of these will still be good down the road when I can eventually get to them, but I'm also not opening them up and checking them on a regular basis. When it's time to shop my stash for a new cream blush, I pick one, I test it out, and if it's good, I use it, and the rest of it just sits around. It's not the best system, but it's my system. So last year, I basically worked on one cream blush for the entire year, and that is this guy right here. This is the Maybelline Dream Bouncy Blush in the shade Peach Satin. It's not gone. It's not gone at all. Oops. Oh. I completely flattened it out. Some of it pulled away from the side of the pan. I am still using this every single day, and I will continue to use it as long as I'm working on a peachy pink powder blush. But as soon as those blushes are gone, I think I'm going to put this one away and give myself a well-deserved break from peachy pink blushes. I just talked about that, so I'm not going to go on and on, but I'm ready for something else. The other cream blush that I have in a project for this year is this one right here. This is my L'Oreal Touch On Color. I worked on this in 2016, I think. That's all I have left. I am going to try my absolute best to finish this year and move it out, so I will be down a cream blush by next year. I do have some pretty good nude cream blushes. One of them that's calling my name right now is this one right here from ColourPop. It's called Nonfiction. It's kind of like a brownie nude. I'd love to work on that. This is an old Physicians Formula cream blush. Very old. It looks like this. I'd love to work on this one. That's a good neutral blush. Once I'm finally done panning the peachy blushes I have slated to finish for this year, there are plenty of cream blushes for me to move towards next. But so far this number has stayed the same. Hopefully it will go down by next year. Okay, here are all of my loose blushes. A mystery has been solved. Earlier in this video, I was kind of freaking out because for some reason my loose highlighter category had gone up from 10 to 11, and I couldn't figure out why because I haven't bought any loose highlighters in the last year. But this category did go down by 1, so I guess I had just moved a blush to a highlighter category. I don't remember doing that, but I wouldn't put it past myself either. So I guess probably while I was planning for the experiment, I ran across a container like that I had previously had in my loose blush category, realized it was really more of a highlighter, moved it to the highlighter category, and then never thought about it again. So my numbers did go from 15 to 14, but it's not because I finished any, unfortunately. It just got moved to a different category, but the current number is 14. I had several of these little guys in projects last year. This littlest one was in the 2020 Vision Project pan, and then that one plus several of these, 3 of them to be exact, were in the experiment. And as you guys know, according to the experiment, I should have been able to use them up in the year. And I was really excited when I was posting my inventory pictures last year about how this number was going to go down. And it hasn't. I still have the same amount. I did not finish any of them. So that's pretty disappointing. As of right now, I don't have plans for any of these to be in projects for 2020, but I will come back to them eventually. I honestly cannot imagine panning this one. This is massive. These are just massive. I don't know. This, by the way, I probably haven't talked about this in a while, but this is an old Clinique Moisture Surge Extra Thirsty Skin Relief container, and in it I have broken blushes. Sometimes when I have an empty pan laying around, I take some powder from there and press it into a pan and add it to my magnetic palettes. I haven't done that in a while, but I have done that in the past. I cannot part with it. I know I'm ridiculous. I know. So currently we are at 14 for loose powder blushes. Okay, this is my category that I call all of my matte blushes. The first time I did my inventory 4 years ago, I knew that I had too many blushes to fit into any single Instagram post, and I had to break them up into smaller groups because they would not fit in a square. So I decided to separate my matte blushes out and make a separate category, and I've stuck with that over the years. I had 45 last year, I have 45 this year. This alone is probably 50 years worth of blush. I did have this one in the experiment last year, but I didn't use it with any consistency. I only used it a few times. I was really focused on the depotted blush from my Pan That palette. So this, I can't even say I really panned this last year, but it wasn't a project. The rest of these definitely went untouched last year. And for this year, I don't have plans at this point for any of these to be in a project. I will be working on other blushes, but not these. There are a few here that are calling my name and I would love to work on soon. Looking at you, Dallas, right there. I would also like to work on these Tarte blushes. I bought them all when they were 50% off at Ulta one day. It was one of my many impulse buys as a former makeup hoarder, and I had to collect them all. And there are a couple that I would love to work on, like these neutral blushes. This is the famous Exposed. I would love to see what this looks like and to try it out. I'd also like to try Party, the birthday gift. I've never tried any of these on my cheeks before, so that's pretty ironic. This blush from Laura Geller is absolutely stunning. It has a chandelier embossed on it, and it is a gorgeous nude shade. This was like a QVC or an HSN special. It's called Chandelier Glow. I'd love to make that chandelier disappear. So as of today, we are at 45 for my matte blush category. Okay, this category of blushes are the ones that I call my pink shimmery blushes. I have no idea how this Too Faced blush got into this category because I had that exact same Too Faced blush in the last category under matte blushes, but whatever. I had 18 last year and I have 18 this year. I'm happy to say that this category did not go up and that I did not buy any blushes, but it also did not go down. I did not work on any of these blushes last year at all, and I don't have plans at this time to put any of them in a project for 2020. That's not to say that one of these might not end up in a project later on in the year, but as of right now, I'm just really focused on finishing 3 blushes that are on their last leg and moving them out. So once I've accomplished that mission, I will then spend a lot of time staring at my blushes and picking the lucky winner that I'll be working on next. Okay, I think it's safe to say that this is going to be the most appalling and shocking flat lay of an inventory you will ever see in your life. This is the category of warm-toned, shimmery blushes from my stash. It is so large that we are no longer working on the table. I have had to move my little blanket to the floor so that I could fill up the entire blanket. There's my coat right there. There's my tripod right there. This is massive. And Sadly, the numbers for this category did go up in the past year. I did not buy any blush, but the numbers did go up. So last year I had 59 for this inventory, and this year I have 62. How, you ask? Well, one of those Laura Geller blushes, one of the ones from that row right there, actually it's that one right there, I had lent to my mom. Around December of last year, my mom finished her only blush. She only owns one blush, and she hadn't finished it, but it was almost gone. And she had asked us for Christmas to replace that exact blush. I knew right away that that blush had long since been discontinued. It was an old L'Oreal blush. I could tell from the packaging. She'd probably had it for 10 years. And so I pulled her aside and I said, rather than picking out a different blush, why don't you come to my house and see if you could find something you like? She's very particular. She was looking for something very specific, like a dusty, kind of rosy nude shade. So she came to my house, she looked at what I had, and she took like maybe 4 or 5 blushes home with her that day. And soon after, I did my inventory, and I think I mentioned in last year's inventory that the number might go up if she decides to give those blushes back to me, and if she decides to keep them, the number will stay down. Well, that Laura Geller blush, she gave back to me after I did my inventory last year. So I've always had that blush, but it wasn't in my inventory last year because it was on loan to my mother. So that's one of the blushes. The other 2 blushes that came in are these 2 right there, those 2 Wet n Wild ones, and they were gifted to me by my friend. Her YouTube channel name is RD Lover Buddy. I will have her channel linked down below if I can remember. I always said her name was Renaya, but I've heard others say Rania. Let me know how to say your name the right way so I'm not butchering it. But anyways, I was talking about how I would like to try this blush right here called Don't Flutter Yourself, that one. And she reached out to me after I mentioned that in a video and said, I have it, I'm not using it, I'll send it to you. And she did, which was unbelievably sweet and kind. I cannot say no to a gift like that. What I will say no to is purchasing new blush. Although I really didn't start watching my spending until this past year in 2019, I have banned myself from buying blush since 2018. So I have not bought a new blush in the last 2 years, but sadly this category did go up by 3. So I am at 62. None of these blushes were in a project during 2019, and as of right now, none of them will be in a project for 2020, but if I can get around to putting one into a project, I would be more than happy to work on it, but that's where we're at right now. Okay, here are all of my blush palettes. I had 6 last year, I have 6 this year. I have not bought any new ones, and I have not used any up. I've opened them all up so you can see what they look like. This one from the Balm is all cream product. Everything else is a powder product. I'm not gonna lie, I avoid putting these in projects because one blush is quite difficult to tackle emotionally, but to tackle an entire palette of blush is just completely overwhelming. So I've avoided these for many years and decided to focus on my singles. I would love to start working on one of those Makeup Revolution palettes like this one right here. This is the pinkier version. It has relatively small pans, and I'm assuming that since it's Makeup Revolution, they're not the deepest pans, but I don't know. This is the more neutral version. I have not had any of these in a project from last year, and as of right now, I don't have plans to put any of these in a project in 2020. Hopefully, I will get to them soon. Okay, we're still on the floor. This category is my face palette category. I call it a face palette because any combination of face products might be found in these palettes. So blush and bronzer, blush and highlight, blush, bronzer, highlight, setting powders, any combination of face powder, but there's more than one in each of these palettes, so they don't fit into any single category, so they're just face palette. I think you get it. They're just face palettes. I had 27 last year and I have 27 this year. I have not bought any and I have not used any up. This category has remained exactly the same for the past year. I have decided to put the Too Faced Selfie palette into a project for this year, and I am using it every single day. I'm hoping to make some good progress on it this year and maybe finish it. That would be amazing to get that palette out. I've also decided that I'm going to be doing some depotting within the next month or so with the space that I created in my magnetic palettes in the past year. And there is still a pan of blush and a pan of bronzer in my old Too Faced Natural Face Palette. That was my Pan That palette for 2018. Yeah. I'm going to depot those two powder products and put them into a magnetic palette and discard of the packaging so I don't have to look at it anymore, and I cannot wait. None of these palettes were in projects last year. There are many of these palettes I would love to work on, but for now the selfie one is the only one that I have in a project. Alright guys, that is it for part 2 of my inventory. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow with part 3. Bye.